Hey everyone, Tyler here from Equities Lab, and today we're going to be talking about a type of stock that keeps popping up in my news feeds across all of my news platforms and all of my groups that I'm an active member in. And that specific type of stock are marijuana stocks. Why am I talking about it? Well, a friend of mine came up to me and asked me, hey, this is what I want to invest in, can you help me? So I took a look, and honestly, it's kind of not something that I personally am interested in, though it does appear that, there's money to be, but there's money to be made everywhere. I'm really picky about the things that I invest in, and I just kind of want to make this video as kind of a little rant or a warning tale, cautionary tale of kind of what you should know before jumping in headfirst in an industry like this. I understand why you want to jump into an industry like this. It's new, it's exciting. There's money being made across the country as prohibition era type laws kind of dissipate around it, where some states are legalizing it recreationally and even more states are legalizing it on a medical basis. So at the end of the day, I can see the appeal, but I can also see these companies and look at this data and kind of realize they're not ready yet at that point. Yes, you can make some money. If you bought these 5 companies that I'm pointing out, you would have made quite a bit. TerraTech is up 62%, Zenerba is up 7%, GW is up 3%. Now I do have 5 tickers here, and these 5 tickers, only 3 of them are showing, and that's because Massroots and Kush Bottles are actually not inside the investable universe because their individual volumes are so low on a daily or monthly basis that you will actually become the market if you have any significant funds. Like if you're buying 1 or 2 shares, yeah, you're fine. But if you're actually going in and you're moving serious dollars in, say you buy $20,000 worth of shares in Kush Bottles or Massroots, you are going to now own that market. And anytime you try to sell those positions, you're going to influence that market in a negative way, and it's going to be an absolute headache for you. So only 3 are showing up. You need to be aware of these things. Yes, TerraTech went up 62%. But at the end of the day, if we look at the graph, they're losing money, right? They're losing money on an annual basis, and their cost of goods are so high. Their cost of goods is running at $27 million this past year, and their sales were only $30 million. That means their margin is incredibly low. They barely have enough money. Their sales are barely high enough to cover the cost of the goods that they actually sold. So when you bring in other expenses, equipment or people or locations, any other expense, you're playing with margins that are this thin. And it's pretty much impossible to have a stable company when you're not given that kind of leeway. You're forced to take on debt, which I know TerraTech doesn't actually have a lot of, and it isn't steadily growing. But at the end of the day, it's just not something personally I'm interested in. And I just kind of hate how these type of companies are packaged up in a way to target people who don't really know what they're doing and want to get in early on something. They're always accompanied by something like, you would have invested in Intel if you knew about the processors they were going to make. Well, absolutely. I would have invested in anything if I knew what was actually going to happen 20 years from now. But at the end of the day, it's all still a gamble, right? There are so many, for every Intel, there are hundreds of companies that have started with a great idea and have failed because of poor execution. And we don't really know what's going to happen. Maybe new management's going to come in. Maybe there's going to be an influx of cash that's going to allow these businesses to explode and become leaders in these areas. We just don't know. So at the end of the day, be careful, right? Pay attention, look at the data, understand what's going on in these companies, and then pick appropriately. In the event that you just want to put money in this sector because you have a little bit of extra money and want to have some fun with it, sure, go right ahead. You might make some money. You might make 62% in a month, which is unheard of when typical investment managers are shooting for 10, 12% on a good year. At the end of the day, just be cautious. Know what your goals are and play to those goals. So we're going to be doing a lot of videos like this not necessarily ranty. Some of them are going to be educational over the next couple of months. So stay tuned. This was Tyler from Equities Lab. Thank you. Goodbye.